Hello, everyone, and welcome back to The Rundown, where we talk about 2A news and conservative views. I will be your host today, Craig DeLuz, coming at you from the West Coast, the left coast, behind the Iron Curtain, otherwise known as the Sierras. But as we all know, I normally don't do this program by myself, but hey, you know what? Once again, Mikey is doing his thing, and we are all the better for it. Definitely missing Mike once again, but you know what? Hey, like I said, I got y'all. Y'all will always keep me company. So we're going to have a good time today as we go forward talking about the news and stuff. The weekend was phenomenal. Had a great weekend. The California Republican Party convention was held this past weekend here in the state in Sacramento, California. So basically it was held right here in my backyard. And it was kind of neat. We elected but we re-elected our chairman of the California Republican Party. We will see. We'll see how that goes. But we also had a chance to kind of get together and look forward to get an idea of what we have to look forward to, because California is going to be a state that is going to play a major role in deciding who the nominees are going to be. If so, should someone run against Joe Biden? Obviously, whoever wins California is going to play a significant role in selecting either Joe Biden or someone else. And then for Republicans, it's going to be the same exact thing. Right now, the only two declared candidates are Donald Trump and Nikki Haley. But I'm sure that there are many of us here in the great state of California that are looking forward to Ron DeSantis jumping into the race as well. So, and I'm sure, by the way, those won't be the only folks that will be jumping into the race, just so you know. In any case, we're going to have a good time today, but before we do, we're going to go ahead and get started and give a quick shout out to our sponsors. Let's pull them up real quick, and there you go. We're going to start with Hitman Industries. You can find them at hitmanindustries.net. If you've purchased an AR in the last few years, chances are you already have one of their barrels. Well, why not do a new build? Or why not rebarrel any other rifles that you might have? If you do, Hitman Industries is the place to go. Also, we have the California Republican Assembly, confirmed once again this weekend, the largest and fastest growing conservative grassroots organization in the California Republican Party. So folks, if you're in California, you want to be a part of California's future, you want to become a member of CRA today. Just visit them at cragop.org. You can also get your hog holsters, helping America wear guns. You'll find them at hogholsters.com. Remember, you can use the discount code The Rundown, all caps, no spaces, and get your hog holster on discount today. And finally, if you're looking for outdoor gear, you're looking for tactical gear, you're looking for wet or cold weather gear, the place to go is uscombatgear.com. They offer quality products with integrity and great pricing. Check them out. Veteran-owned and operated. That's, once again, uscombatgear.com. All right, let's start with today's first story. You may have been following this. If you follow conservative news, I am sure that you've been paying attention. So here we have a judge. All right, now this judge is he is a judge there. He's in the Fifth Circuit out of Texas. And the interesting thing about this judge is he flew all the way out to Stanford University in order to speak to the students there. And he was going to give a speech. And it was basically, hold on, let me see if I can find the title of the speech here in this post. Where are we at here? Okay. Does it talk about, okay, it does not say what the title of, went awry, includes law school. I told students to go. Okay. So basically what he said was, what they did, the whole point of the event. Oh, here we go. The Fifth Circuit in conversation with the Supreme Court, COVID, guns, and Twitter, right? Now, what he's going to be talking about is how these cases unfolded, what the points of the cases were, how they came to him, and he's really going to be talking about the aspects of the law. And the problem is that this guy is a Trump appointee, and because he is a Trump appointee, therefore, there is no possible way that he could have anything of substance to say to law students. Let me say that again. To law students, right? These are students who are supposed to be learning how cases are handled, right? This is all a part of what they're supposed to be learning in school. And yet they decided, yeah, no, he's too conservative, so we don't want him here. And so they decided they were going to heckle him. Now, it wasn't enough that they were going to heckle him, but then one of the deans decided to get up, who was there, and they decided to get up, and she decided to get up and wanted to, well, she had a few choice words, and I'm not going to play the entire thing because it's about 10 minutes, but I will play with you. I will play with you real quick a snippet from it. Here you go.
They're not letting me go. Yes, please.
I have to write something down because I'm so uncomfortable up here. And I don't say that for sympathy. I just say I'm deeply, deeply uncomfortable. I'm uncomfortable because this event is tearing at the fabric of this community that I care about and I'm here to support. And I don't know, and I have to ask myself, and I'm not a cynic to ask this, is the juice worth the squeeze? Is this worth it? It isn't a setup. But for many people in this law school who work here, who study here, and who live here, your advocacy, your opinions from the bench land as absolute disenfranchisement of their rights and does land. Let me And it impacts directly their people, humans, their families, and their communities. And I'm uncomfortable, and it's uncomfortable to say this to you as a person. It's uncomfortable to say that for many people here, your work has caused harm, has caused harm. And I know that must be uncomfortable to hear. I know that must be. Let me please finish, and I want to give you space to finish your remarks too, Judge Duncan. I'm also uncomfortable because many of the people in the room here I've come to care for, and in my role at this university, my job is to create a space of belonging for all people in this institution. And that is hard and messy and not easy, and the answers are not black or white or right or wrong. This is actually part of the creation of belonging. And it doesn't feel comfortable, and it doesn't always feel safe, but there are always places of safety, and there is always an intention from this administration to make sure you all can be in a place where you feel fully you can be here, learn, grow into the amazing advocates and lawyers and leaders that you're going to be. I'm also uncomfortable because it is my job to say you are invited into this space. You are absolutely welcome in this space. In this space that people learn and again live. I really do wholeheartedly welcome you because me and many people in this administration do absolutely believe in free speech. We believe that it is necessary. We believe that the way to address speech that feels abhorrent, that feels harmful, that literally denies the humanity of people, that one way to do that is with more speech and not less. And not to shut you down or censor you or censor the student group that invited you here. That is hard, that is uncomfortable, and that is a policy and a principle that I think is worthy of defending even in this time, And again, I still ask, is the juice worth the squeeze? I mean, is it worth the pain that this causes and the division that it causes? Do you have something so incredible important to say about Twitter and guns and COVID that is worth this impact on the division of these people who have sat next to each other for years, who are going through what is the battle of law school together so that they can go out into the world and...
All right, so let's be clear. He went there to talk about COVID, guns, and Twitter. None of that had anything to do with anything that she was saying. Now, mind you, here's what's so funny. She got up and she talked about, the words you're going to say harm people and this. Nothing. He had not even said anything. She made an assumption that whatever came out of his mouth was going to be abhorrent. Whatever came out of his mouth was going to be racist. Whatever came out of his mouth was going to be transphobic, gay-phobic, whatever it is. There was nothing that he could possibly say about guns, about COVID, and about Twitter that could have any value. especially since he was one of the appellate court justices who handle these cases. I cannot, for the life of me, understand. But once again, let me take a step back. This is Stanford University. Stanford wants the best of the best, right? And here's a person who, by the way, got up and spoke. No one invited her to speak. Nobody invited her to speak. Nobody wanted to hear her thoughts on anything. He was invited. The one thing I will say, and she points this out later in her little diatribe, is that, this is voluntary, right? A lot of the people who go before him, they have to go before a judge because, well, they've done something wrong. Now, by the way, he's an appellate court judge. Because they've done something, so they don't have a choice but to listen to what he has to say. These folks did. Now, they had a choice to walk in the room, and they didn't have to stay there. Now, I don't know what he could have possibly said that would merit them doing that, but the fact is he said nothing. The point is they don't like his legal positions. And now but the funniest part about it is this. They don't want to argue legal points with him. They just want to shout him down. They wanted to have vulgar signs. They had vulgar signs. They were cursing at him, calling him out of his name, all of this stuff. Law students, law school. He was invited by the Federalist Society, a law student group. Now, mind you, I'm sure that the students who were there, the members of the Federalist Society, were not the ones engaging in this behavior. But mind you, I just think, and by the way, in defense of Stanford University, the staff did, or at least someone did decide that they were going to apologize. They did send him an apology. But what's funny about this whole thing is, so afterwards, they tell the students, well, you shouldn't, after getting an apology, don't text about it. Don't post on social media about it. We should wait till the news cycle goes down. And folks, they're saying this in an attempt, because what it is they don't want this news to get out. They don't want you and I to hear about this stuff. And I am so glad. Stanford was my son's first choice for school. And I am so glad that he wound up going where he did wind up going to school, because it worked out really, really well for him. And I would hate to think, and mind you, I'm sure where he went to school, I'm sure that there are still these same exact type of Woketivists. But when you consider the cost of Stanford versus some other schools, one would think that you would have a better quality of student at Stanford University. But and by the way, a better quality of dean, because I think that administrator who got up and decided to admonish and to a sitting appellate court justice, appellate court judge, I think she was way out of line. I think she did not uphold the reputation of the organization. I think she needs to be fired. But, she's entitled to her freedom of speech, evidently. Just he isn't. There you go. In any case, folks, I'm sure that there's going to be more of this. And because here's the thing. What these students are being taught is they're not being taught how to think. They're being taught what to think. They are being told that you are to be a Woketivists. And that anybody who disagrees with you, no matter how sound their logic may be, your job is to shut them down. Your job is to not give air to their opinions. The place where that is supposed to be the place where you take ideas, right? The place where ideas are supposed to be expressed. Yeah, that's not college universities anymore. That's not academia anymore. Academia is all about indoctrination. And if you aren't indoctrinating the right stuff, they don't want you to have a voice. And that is incredibly sad. And I think that these students are doing themselves a disservice. Anyway, that's just them. I will now move on from that particular topic. Okay, what do we got? Here's this thing. Okay, so this next one. Now this one is interesting because, all right. So there's a person who is actually hold on. Let me pull her position up. So she's at De Anza College, and De Anza College is it's in the South Bay. And this woman was what was her position? She was the director of diversity. All right. And she actually wound up getting fired from her job for not instituting or having issues with a number of the aspects of their policy. And here I'll just read some of the story to you. A black director of Woke California College's Office of Equity, Social Justice, and Multicultural Education claims she was fired for questioning the institution's anti-racism orthodoxy and what the term anti-racism even means. Dr. Tabia Lee said De Anza College, it's a community college in Cupertino, retaliated after she objected to several campus policies aimed at inclusion. I was working in a California community college, and I noticed that there was a lot of resistance to my even asking questions about anti-racism, policy efforts, and language, Lee told nonprofit Foundation Against Intolerance and Racism. And I purely wanted to know what folks meant when they were using those terms. And I encountered a lot of hostility and a lot of resistance to me even asking the question. She told Higher Ed she was canned after declining to join a socialist network, objected to the college's land acknowledgments for indigenous tribe, and questioned why the word black was capitalized and why white was not. All sound things. Additionally, Lee said she refused to use gender-neutral terms Latinx, Filipinx, because of her belief they only fuel racism. I find that some toxic ideologies around race ideologies are now being advanced under gender ideology, Lee said, according to the outlet. Now, interestingly, I met this weekend with the group, California School Boards Association. I sit on their delegate assembly, and I met with a group of local school board members who also sit on that delegate assembly with me. And it was amazing to me how do I want to put this? Many of them raised questions about how there were people who had questions or concerns about, once again, the anti-racism or the diversity, equity, and inclusion programs or things that they were trying to institute in their school districts. And, I had to point out to them, I said, we in our school district, we've been doing what we call resiliency training for well over a decade. And we started doing that because we recognized that we had at the time an older teaching staff and who had been around for a while. And we realized that the demographics of the students who they were teaching had changed significantly than probably the time in which they started. It was we're right next to a military base or a former military base. So a lot of the kids were, it was a lot less diverse. We'll call it that. It also was a lot more middle income. Now it's a lot more lower income and it's more diverse, shall we say. And so what we wanted to do was make sure that all of our staff had an understanding of the community in which they were, teaching. The culture, so that they could create the best atmosphere in class for students to be able to learn. That's the whole point of it, right? Then we started doing we not so much with our students because we didn't let it, but we got talked into doing this quote unquote anti-racism training, and I had expressed to them that it is some of the most racist stuff that I have ever heard. Now, not all of it was bad. But there was a huge chunk of it that I'm like, look, this is divisive and racist. And I said, I think we need to think about it's not so much that we don't need to be doing some work like this, but I think we need to be looking at how we're delivering it and look at all aspects of it. And when we start getting into things like Latinx, by the way, they've done polls. They've done a number of polls, and Latinos do not want to be referred to as Latinx. They consider it a perversion of their language, a racist perversion of their language. That's how they see it. And they don't like it. Less than 2% of all Latinos polled have said that they prefer to be called Latinx or the term Latinx. So I think it's kind of racist to call people something they don't want to be called. That's just me. Maybe it's just me. But in any case, basically what happens, by the way, is when you raise these questions, when you raise questions like that, well, you're automatically saying, well, he's not an ally, right? He has internalized. If you're a person of color, if you're white, these are your racist white supremacy views. If you are a person of color like myself, you have internalized racism, right? It is beyond, and that's how they respond to you, and that's how they negate anything that you have to say. And because she raised these questions, that's exactly what they said to her. And they turned around and they said, "Here, I'll pull up the article again." It says a colleague of Lee's also accused the black faculty member of white speaking or white splaining and supporting white supremacy. Let me go back up real quick. I also find the constant obsession with pronouns and declaration of pronouns causes deep discomfort for individuals who identify as gender fluid or who struggle with gender dysphoria. A colleague of Lee's also accused the black faculty member of white splaining and supporting of white supremacy. What'd I tell you? If you raise a question, if you have any issues, if anything like that, once again, you are a supporter of white supremacy. Now, the school offered a different reason for firing. It said in a letter obtained by Higher Ed, the district chancellor, Judy Minor, wrote, Lee showed a persistent inability to demonstrate cooperation in working with colleagues and staff and an unwillingness to accept constructive criticism. In other words, when she was accused of white splaining, when she was accused of white supremacy, and I'm sure it was told to her that she was internalizing racism or that she was oppressed because she was black, I'm sure that all of that, because she objected to that, well, that made her uncooperative and made her unable to work with other people. Anyway, folks, once again, this is a person who was hired for this position, right? This was a person whose job it was to do this. And clearly she was not woke enough for the folks who worked there. Big surprise, big surprise. Once again, she spoke out and she got the axe because, these are people who want to have the conversation, right? They want to have hard conversations. It's not that they want to have hard conversations. They want to tell you and want you to accept whatever it is they say as if it were gospel. And if you don't, then you're refusing to have a hard conversation. That's who you are. So no, I'm sorry, you Woketivists. You are wrong. And she was right. And anyway. Moving on to our next story. Gun sale tracking put on hold, and the folks on the left, the anti-gunners, are losing their minds. That is what is happening, according to Bearing Arms. Anti-gun activists are melting down over the pause in merchant codes for gun stores. Now, we've talked about this. Basically, you have Visa and MasterCard, as well as, I believe, Discover and American Express, had been talking about creating merchant codes for gun stores in order to track firearm sales. Now, it didn't say whether or not they were going to have different merchant codes for other stuff that you may buy. They're like, what happens if you buy a hat or you buy a t-shirt? The whole goal, they were saying, was to be able to track those sales. My belief is their goal was to make it so that they could deny those sales, because there are some states that have proposed laws that would say if you do business, if you're a financial industry company and you do business with anyone in the gun industry, well, then we will stop doing business with you, or it will be illegal for you to do that. We'll stop doing business with you. And by the way, California is one of those states. Here, I'll read this to you real quick. The gun control lobby is taking the news that companies like Visa and MasterCard have hit the pause button on their rollout of new merchant category codes for gun stores about as well as you'd expect. That is to say, there's a lot of frothing at the mouth and complaining that companies are caving to the gun lobby, as well as dubious claims that these codes could actually be helpful in identifying potential violent criminals and preventing them from carrying out crimes. Now, there is nothing in any of this process that would allow them to do that. The government and the financial institutions should not be tracking people who are seeking to exercise their fundamental rights. That's number one. There's no way in which, in particular, because most guns used in crimes are not purchased through a gun store. They're not purchased at what they call gun shows. They're purchased illegally. So no, it does absolutely nothing of what they do. But what it does do, it does make it possible, once they have this tracking, for them to then make it easy for them to deny firearm sales, deny people the ability to utilize their financial institution or their financial product in order to purchase firearms, to shut down their ability to exercise their fundamental right to keep and bear arms. That is what the point of what they are trying to do is. Now, one of the reasons why some of these folks, some of these companies are doing this, is because you have states like Texas who have said, yeah, no, if you do that, if you start discriminating against firearms retailers or firearms manufacturers, you cannot do business with us. And Chase Morgan got hit big time in the state of Texas because of their policy. They had access to, I think it was something like a $3 billion bond issue that nope, sorry, you don't get any piece of that. You don't get to be any part. You don't get to play any role in that business. And you will continue not to get any role and play any role in that business because they have adopted policies that are anti-gun. So, or that are limiting people's ability to exercise their fundamental right to keep and bear arms. So anyway, it's good news that they've done that. It's good news that the gun community is losing their minds. It's also interesting that the credit card companies are now waking up to realize that being woke, you will go broke. Just saying. All right, next, Bill Walton. Bill Walton, former NBA star, now NBA commentator, he's in some trouble right now. He's in some trouble for using a word that he could get in a lot of trouble for. It's a word that is a non-favored word anymore. It is the how do I want to put it? He used the M word, folks. I know. He used the M word. I know. In this day and age, one would think that he would know better. One would think that he would realize that is just something that is just simply not acceptable in this day and age. It's just not. I mean, how do you use the M word? I mean, I don't like it when people use the M word. Oh, wait. I know. I hope you guys get the joke because I was talking like it was the N word, and it was not the N word. It was the M word. And what is the M word? Well, let's see if we can pull up that video for you real quick and have him share with you what the M word is. Here we go.
He does not need a little chair because he is a giant in a world of shriveling midgets. And speaking of shriveling midgets, what was your name again?
What is wrong? The first half, Arizona State.
I'm guilty of having fun in Las Vegas. Fun with a purpose. In the first half stats, 3-point shooting. Arizona State comes out on fire. That's the first possession of the game. Says Cambridge, time is on his side. And then Frankie Collins, oh my gosh, not related to Jackie Collins, but close. And Desmond just kept coming. But the challenge, okay, the Audi first half stats.
I don't know what you consumed at halftime. Audi first half stats.
Okay, I don't know what he consumed at halftime. Okay, maybe it's just me. Correct me if I am wrong. I did not know that the word midget was like a curse word nowadays. Because evidently it is. Because according to this article, let me pull the article up for you, and this is at the New York Post. Basketball Hall of Famer Bill Walton is facing backlash for using a derogatory term about little people in the broadcast for the 2023 Pac-12 basketball tournament in Vegas. During halftime at Arizona State's eventual 77-72 win over USC on Thursday, Walton, who serves as a broadcaster with ESPN, used the M word, because you're not supposed to say midget, I guess, while complimenting the inter-game host. He doesn't need a little chair. He is a giant in a world full of shriveling midgets. Yeah, he said. Walton then turned to broadcaster Dave Posh and joked, speaking of shriveling midgets, what is your name again? And he's like, I don't know. He's like, what is wrong with you? Now, folks, maybe I'm turned in to get off my lawn guy, but I did not know that was a bad word. Because I'll be honest, when I it's a word that it's a phrase that I've used. I consider people who lack the ability to engage in intellectual dialogue, people who resort to name calling instead of actually debating issues. No matter what side you're on, I don't care if you're on my side. If all you do is call people names and can't really debate subjects and issues, I will refer to you as an intellectual midget. Because you lack the intellect to be able to play with the big boys, which is pretty much what he was saying, right? He's saying, anyway, so if I have offended any of you out there by utilizing the term midget, well, I'm not sorry. I can't keep up with all of the wrong terms or terminology that is out there. Anyway, with that, we're going to go ahead and move along. Let's see, where are we at here? We're going to go ahead and move along to our parting shot. Our parting shot today is brought to you by Hog Holsters. That's helping America wear guns. Go there now to hogholsters.com and use the discount code The Rundown, all caps, no spaces, and get your Hog Holster today. This video is, it's about Congress. And I think that's all I really need to say about it. I think you will... Not Congress. Oh man, I messed that up. I totally gave away the joke. But anyway, it's about the NBA or NBA or the NFL. Which of these two fits these descriptions? And anyway, go ahead and let's check it out, and we'll talk on the flip side.
Is it NBA or NFL? 36 have been accused of spousal abuse. 7 have been arrested for fraud. 19 have been accused of writing bad checks. 117 have directly or indirectly been bankrupted at least 2 businesses. 3 have done time for assault. 71, I repeat, 71 cannot get a credit card due to their bad credit. 14 have been arrested on drug-related charges. 8 have been arrested for shoplifting. 21 currently are defendants in lawsuits, and 84 have been arrested for drunk driving in the last year. How many of you think NBA? How many of you think NFL? Well, the answer is neither. It's the 435 members of the United States Congress.
Yeah, I know. I ruined the joke. I ruined it. But anyway, it was funny nonetheless. Yeah, it just goes to show. You. Judge not lest ye be judged. Because, when you get judged, you're going to get judged. Anyway, folks, before we go, let's give a quick shout out to our sponsors once again. First of all, there's Hitman Industries. You'll find them at hitmanindustries.net. Get your rifle and pistol length barrels today. California Republican Assembly. Find them at cragop.org. Become a part of California's future today. Hog Holsters, helping America wear guns. Visit them at hogholsters.com. Use discount code The Rundown. All caps, no spaces. Get your Hog Holster today. Finally, outdoor gear, rain gear, tactical gear. Go to uscombatgear.com. Also remind you the links to all of our sponsors are in the description to this program. So just go there, click on it, and visit them today. That's going to be it for today. We will be back tomorrow. Hopefully we, as in me and Mike, will be back tomorrow. Have some fun on Taco Tuesday. And with that, you folks take care, and we will talk to you mañana.